Okay, people, good afternoon. I hope you guys continue to do well today. We've got the other half of the depth chart here. We went over the offense this morning. If you did not watch this morning's video, you might want to go watch that because this is part 2. And now we're taking a look at the defensive side and also the special teamers. We'll take a look at that before the end of the video here. And there's nothing too shocking here. I wouldn't open this up anticipating anything particularly earth-shattering, but it is still worth looking at, still worth getting a feel for where the team might be mentally with some of their players. And actually, pretty early on here, we get an interesting, I'll call it interesting. What I mean by interesting really is concerning, but at the same time, nothing's really that concerning right now because we haven't even played a preseason game yet. But they start with the defensive line. Defensive tackle, they have Jaron Reed listed as the number 1 and Bubba Thomas listed as at his backup. And that would be fine, but that means that we have a nose tackle situation where currently your number 1 player is Byron Murphy. I mean, we have talked about this. We have discussed this before. Byron Murphy is wasted at the nose tackle position. He can do it a little bit. Ideally, I would say that he doesn't really have to do it a little bit, but he can do it a little bit. But you are missing out on his best attributes if he's playing that nose. You are missing out on his pass rushing abilities. You are missing out on some of his more disruptive abilities. So right away, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, if this is where things end up, where Murphy has to be the starting nose tackle, then that is something that really needed to be addressed in the offseason. Jonathan Hankins is the backup nose tackle. Brandon Pilley is the third stringer. I've heard good things about Pilley in camp, by the way, so it doesn't terribly surprise me. He's making some waves here. He's got a shot. Quinton Bohanna is your fourth stringer, and J.R. Singleton is, I guess, your fifth string nose. And Anthony Campbell is also listed here as a nose, your sixth. Both those guys, long shots to make the roster. Bohanna, too. And then you've also got defensive end, which the way this depth chart lays things out is a little bit, I don't know. I don't think this is necessarily indicative of what we're going to get during the season. Remember, the Seahawks are almost certainly going to live in 3-4 nickel. So it's not like we're getting a great idea from this of who's actually going to be on the field. We're going to have to parlay that out. But they have Leonard Williams listed as defensive end, which is kind of confusing. What I would expect is that this team is going to have 1 defensive tackle and 1 nose tackle for most snaps, and they won't really have this third defensive end. But again, there are going to be base formation snaps. There are going to be times where we have 3 guys. I understand that. But what I'm trying to say is that for most of our defensive snaps, this is not going to be a meaningful alignment. But we got Big Cat. Then you got Mike Morris. Heard some pretty good things about him so far in camp, which, I mean, that would be a nice shot in the arm. And then you've got Seth Coleman, third. You got Riley Mills, who is injured, and I don't anticipate him getting better particularly soon. Listed as your number 4. Obviously, he's not going to get cut, but he's probably going to start the season on IR. Okay, so that gets us to our linebackers. The rush linebacker looks like DeMarcus Lawrence as your starter with Derek Hall backing him up. Makes sense. DeMarcus Lawrence is the run defender. Derek Hall is the pass rusher. So Lawrence starts. Hall comes off the bench. And Tyreek Smith is your third stringer. Unlikely to make the team, if I had to guess. But maybe the practice squad. And by the way, if you swing over to the other outside linebacker spot, SLB, or strong side, or however you want to put it, Boye Mafe or Derek Hall. So right now they have Derek Hall as the backup on both ends, and they also seem to think there's some chance that he actually starts at SLB, because right now they're saying it's a toss-up. I think Mafe is going to get it, but it is interesting they've done this. For me personally, it makes all the sense in the world to have Mafe start and play early downs because he is the superior run defender. But remember, this is all with Uchenna Nwosu currently being injured. Obviously, when Nwosu's part of the proceedings here, we're going to see him get probably early down snaps, and then Hall and Mafe come off the bench. But even if that's not the exact alignment, all those guys are going to be rotating in and out constantly, and it's going to be hard to really derive all that much meaning from who starts and who comes off the bench, if things get spread out evenly, which I think they will. So behind Hall, we have Jamie Sheriff, Connor O'Toole behind him, and then Jalen Gaines with Nwosu hanging out as one of the injured players. Obviously, he will be near the top once he gets back. Inside linebacker now, as expected, our starters. I mean, there's not much to say here. You've got Ernest Jones at one spot, and you've got Tyrese Knight at the other spot. Jones is the middle, and Knight is the weak side. Nothing much to say here, other than what else could it possibly be. But let's take a look at our current depth. Pat O'Connell backs up Ernest Jones. Makes sense. And Drake Thomas backs up Tyrese Knight at weak side. I think that's probably the only thing you can really do. De'Eric Jackson is your third string middle linebacker. Josh Ross is your backup weak side linebacker. They have Jared Ivey listed as a middle linebacker. I think that has to be a mistake. Jared Ivey, he's either a big edge or he's a down lineman. There's no way he's a middle linebacker. So I think this is just a mistake. But I guess if they're trying him there, that's interesting. Don't really know how to feel about that. Okay, secondary now, getting back to the defensive backs. Cornerback starters, we have Devon Witherspoon and Reek Woolen. Standard. Notice they have us in base, which is fine, but keep in mind, we're going to be in nickel most of the time. Backing up Witherspoon right now is Josh Jobe, and backing up Reek Woolen is Shaq Griffin. So right now, those guys seem to have pole position for the backup spots. And behind them, we have Demarion Williams, who is supposedly having a nice camp. I think he had a pick six the other day. And Nehemiah Pritchett as the other third corner. Pretty understandable, pretty reasonable, pretty good. Those would be the 6 guys that I think have a real chance of making the roster, or will make the roster in some cases. That seems to be the way things are going. Remember, Nick Emenwari is probably going to do some corner work this year. He's going to be playing nickel corner. That will probably reduce the number of corners we need to carry. But you've got Tyler Hall and Shamar Jean-Charles as, I guess, your 4th guys. Isis Waxter and Cam Alexander as your 5th guys. And Keydrain Callaghan as another depth corner. I would say all those guys have very low odds of making the team. A guy like Waxter has a real chance at the practice squad, though, because he is an intriguing UDFA. And that gets us to safety, where, again, as expected, Kobe Bryant, Julian Love starting. D'Anthony Bell is backing up Kobe Bryant. Bell's had a nice camp. Makes sense. Nick Emenwari backing up Julian Love. Again, makes sense. Although, again, what I would say is that expect Emenwari to mostly play at nickel, more so than he gets reps at safety. And it makes sense that Emenwari would be backing up Love, because Love tends to play closer to the line of scrimmage than Kobe. And you want Emenwari near the line of scrimmage right now. Ty Okada and AJ Finley, who just went on IR, they're the next safeties. And then you've got Jarek Reed II, who is surprisingly low on this list for me. Again, it's just a unofficial depth chart, but it's interesting that Reed is behind Okada. Obviously, he's not behind Finley anymore, but you're only going to carry so many safeties. Okada and Reed might be fighting for the last safety spot. Again, I'm ruling Finley out for obvious reasons, but it is notable. Okay, real quick here, special teams, very standard. Jason Myers, Michael Dixon. Dixon is the holder. It's been that way for a while. Going to be that way again this year. Kicker, punter, holder. Where things get interesting would be the returners. Steven Sims currently listed as the starting punt returner and kick returner. No disrespect to Steven Sims. Really hoping that changes soon. Hoping somebody takes it. I don't think we have the roster spot for Steven Sims. We're going to have to give something up that we like to carry Steven Sims. And I just don't want to do that. Corey Horton listed as the backup in both spots. He's the guy that I hope runs away with this. He's the guy I want in this role. There's a legitimate concern at this point that he's going to be so good as a receiver that we're not going to want to risk him on returns. I guess that would be a concern, a problem. For the moment, though, I do want Horton here. And we have Damarian Williams as the third punt returner and Zach Charbonnet as the third kick returner. Don't mind either of that. Chris Stoll listed as the long snapper. He's currently banged up, but every indication he'll be fine. We signed somebody today to be a temporary long snapper, but I don't think that he has any real chance of making the team unless Stoll's injury is severe. And that'll do it, guys. That is your defensive depth chart. So let me know what you guys think down below. That is what we are cooking up. That is what I am feeling right now. And that is what the team is feeling. Those are my thoughts in conjunction with the team's current thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. Another video coming later. Go Hawks, and have a great day.